When I first read The Lion of Mars, I thought the main point was survival. A crisis, a problem to solve, and kids forced to grow up fast. But after hearing my classmates' presentations, my understanding shifted. The story isn't only about surviving Mars, it's about surviving fear. Inside your body, inside a group, and inside a closed system where every decision feels permanent. I keep returning to how the book starts, not with danger, but with comfort. Bell describes the core like it's a refuge. He felt like a bird in a quiet, safe nest, my home, then admits one that I never ever wanted to leave. That line hits differently after the presentations. From a psychology cell lens, that's not just Bell likes home, that's avoidance when safety becomes the strategy. If I never leave the nest, nothing can hurt me. If I stay small, I stay safe. But Mars doesn't let anyone stay small for long. One presentation focused on how extreme. Environments create rule heavy cultures because rules reduce uncertainty. That made me rethink the settlement rules. Bell says the grown ups taped them up and that he knew them by heart, and one rule sits at the center of the entire conflict: no contact with foreign countries, ever. I used to read that rule as simple authority Psy being controlling. Now I read it as a community coping mechanism. Rules are how anxious systems try to control what can't be controlled. Mars is dangerous. So the settlement tries to turn danger into a checklist. If we follow the rules, we're safe. If we break them, we're doomed. But then another presentation complicated that. Rules can protect you, but they can also trap you. Because the moment something happens near the French settlement, Phineas says they should contact them. Because someone might be hurt. Sai shuts it down. It's not our territory. It's not our problem. You know the rules. From Ansel lens, that scene becomes a clash between fear-based control and empathy-based responsibility. Who matters when resources feel scarce? Who counts as us? Who becomes them? Bell even repeats the belief out loud. They're the enemy. That's what everyone says. That's where Appear's point about groupthink landed for me. When a group is scared, it simplifies the world. Enemy, safe, dangerous, rules, no rules. And the cost of simplification is usually someone else's humanity. Phineas interrupts that simplification with one of the most teachable lines in the novel. Just because everyone says something doesn't mean it's true. That's more than advice. It's a social emotional skill, questioning a narrative. When fear is shaping it, then Phineas teaches with the weeds metaphor how weeds take over if you don't pull them. At first, I thought that was just a cute old guy gives wisdom moment, but after the presentations, I realized Weeds is the emotional story of the whole book. Fear spreads, resentment spreads, distrust spreads. If you don't name it and remove it, it becomes the environment, and the book proves it because the weeds aren't just hypothetical. Later, Bell finally understands what Phineas meant, he says. Our settlement was overgrown with bad feelings weeds from long ago, and they were strangling us to death. That sentence reframed the entire colony for me. Mars isn't the only hostile environment. The emotional climate is hostile too, and Bell's body shows it. When the kids finally encounter people at the French settlement, Bell narrates, fear rushed through me. Later, after they escape, he admits, I want to go home. That's fight or flight in plain language, not a metaphor, a physiological reality. And that connects to what I do as an educator, because the assignment isn't just asking us to retell, it's asking us to show how meaning changed. So here's my claim: the presentations helped me see Bell's survival story as an cell case study. How kids process danger through avoidance, how groups manage fear through rules, and how belonging becomes as necessary as oxygen. The lions become the symbol for that. Belle learns about lions and notes. Lions who are rejected by their pride do not survive long. That line works on two levels. On the surface, it's an animal fact. But on Mars, it becomes a warning. Isolation isn't just lonely, it's lethal. On a planet where everything depends on cooperation, rejection is a death sentence. Now I want to widen the lens to the dust storm, because one classmate described the storm as not only weather but chronic stress, ongoing uncertainty, ongoing scarcity, ongoing strain. The text supports that. Bell describes the storm as eerie, lingering for weeks instead of days, and then Sai says Command called it a big one, a global dust storm that's impossible to predict. Then we get the official, almost emotionless format that Sai uses to cope. His situation report language. The global dust storm is ongoing. We have instituted standard protocols. Please advise on forecasted duration of storm. That's how anxious systems speak. Protocols, duration, advise. But the body speaks differently. The first hint that something was wrong was a cough. That line is terrifying because it's small. It's not an explosion. It's not a dramatic alarm. It's one symptom, one person coughing, and suddenly the whole settlement feels fragile. From a psychology lens, that's how stress becomes trauma, not one big moment, but the accumulation of what if after what if, until everyone's nervous system is constantly on alert, and when the stress lasts long enough, it reshapes relationships. I didn't fully understand Psy until I hit the later sections and the presentations. Helped me read him with more compassion, while still holding him accountable. Memes explains that Psy's strictness is tied to grief. After Lissa died, Psy didn't leave his room for days. That detail matters, because trauma often looks like control on the outside, but collapse on the inside. If Sai can't control death, he tries to control everything else: communication, borders, decisions, people. Phineas captures the emotional weight with two words. Mars weeps. That line changed the story for me. It reframed the colony as grieving, not just functioning, and the most brutal proof that this is a social emotional crisis as much as a technical one comes in another situation report. Morale is low. Please advise. Morale is low isn't about machines, it's about people. So here's the part my classmates' presentations really made me notice. The crisis on Mars doesn't just test equipment, it tests emotional regulation. When people feel powerless, they reach for control. That can look like rules, silence, blame, or shutting others out, but it can also look like courage. Asking for help, telling the truth, and choosing cooperation even when you're scared. If I taught this book, I'd pause and name what's happening: fight or flight, avoidance, groupthink, and resilience. Not as vocabulary for a quiz, more like a mirror, because the real lesson is that community isn't automatic, it's something you build. On purpose, especially when fear is loud. And I think the book's biggest shift is that Bell starts in the nest wanting to stay safe forever, but the crisis forces him to leave the nest emotionally. He has to speak, connect, question everyone says, and decide who belongs in the pride. That's why the lion line is the one I can't let go of. Lions who are rejected by their pride do not survive long, because on Mars, and honestly, in any classroom, survival depends on whether the group can stay a group. Not perfect, not always calm, but willing to pull the weeds before they take over.